Greetings, I'm Teresa, and I'm 31 years old. The past year has been incredibly challenging for me, and I'm still trying to recover from it all. I've been quietly reading stories on this platform for a while, and they've inspired me to share my own experience. My story starts with Gabriel, my ex-husband. We met at work right after I finished college. I landed a great job at a well-known company, and Gabriel and I ended up in the same department. He was assigned as my mentor. As we spent more time together, we grew closer, and before long, I found myself falling for him. Luckily, he felt the same way about me. We were a bit worried about our company's dating policy at first, but it turned out that they were fine with us being together, as long as our relationship didn't interfere with our work. We were more than happy to keep things professional at the office, and we started dating. Gabriel was a wonderful and charismatic guy, and our relationship was everything I could have wished for. After dating for a year and a half, we decided to move in together. Thanks to my parents' help, I had my own house, so Gabriel moved in with me. Things were great, and after 4 years together, Gabriel proposed. I was overjoyed and said yes without hesitation. The thought of spending my life with him filled me with happiness. We had a small, intimate wedding 8 months later. Meanwhile, my career was on an upward trajectory. I was securing new clients and earning bonuses and raises. However, I started to notice that Gabriel was acting strangely towards me. Whenever I tried to discuss it with him, he would avoid the conversation. After a while, I realized that he was jealous of my success and the fact that I was earning more than him. I was disappointed that he saw me as a competition, but I thought I could help him by offering advice and helping him with clients at work. Unfortunately, he didn't appreciate my efforts and became even more upset, accusing me of undermining him. This tension escalated about a year into our marriage, after Gabriel's outburst towards me. It was a difficult period, and I've been trying to work through it ever since. Sharing my story here is a step towards healing, and I hope it might help others who have gone through similar experiences. In the months that followed, I threw myself into my work like never before. Our boss had announced a promotion was on the line for whoever could secure the most clients. I was determined to win that promotion, hoping it would make life easier for Gabriel and me. On a day filled with the usual hustle, something extraordinary happened. At the end of my shift, my boss called me into his office to deliver some incredible news. I had earned a promotion. Elated, I couldn't wait to share this with Gabriel, who had taken the day off and was unaware of the day's events. Upon arriving home, I was welcomed by the aroma of a delicious meal Gabriel had prepared. "How was work today, sweetie?" he greeted me, his efforts to make a special dinner evident. "It's been great, and I've got some exciting news we need to celebrate. So, I picked up a fine bottle of wine," I replied, eager to see his reaction. "That's quite the bottle. This must be big news. Spill it," Gabriel encouraged, his interest piqued. I shared the news of my promotion, the big one everyone at work had been vying for. His response was mixed. "We're going to be rolling in money," he said, but I could sense a hint of surprise and perhaps disappointment in his tone. I explained how I had given my all these past few months, leading to my exhaustion but ultimately paying off. Gabriel's reaction was bittersweet. While he tried to hide it, it was clear he felt a pang of jealousy for not being the one promoted. "It shouldn't matter who got the promotion, Gabriel. We both benefit from it, right? My achievements are yours too," I tried to reason, hoping to shift the focus to celebration rather than competition. Gabriel paused, then brightened up with an idea. "You're right. Let's not just celebrate. Let's throw a massive party for your promotion. We'll invite our families, colleagues, and even the bosses." His suggestion caught me off guard. "Are you sure? Wouldn't that make you feel worse?" I asked, concerned about his feelings. But Gabriel was adamant. "I'll be fine. It's time for us to celebrate your hard work, and I think I've got the perfect gift for you too," he assured me, brushing aside any hint of resentment for a gesture of genuine love and support. His willingness to celebrate my success, despite his feelings, was a reminder of the complex layers of our relationship, blending personal achievements with shared joy. Gabriel promised to present me with a special gift at the party in front of all our guests. Initially, I felt a twinge of disappointment because his emotions seemed to overshadow his ability to express appreciation for my achievement. However, Gabriel's enthusiasm for organizing a celebration in my honor gradually changed my perspective. Over the next few weeks, he dedicated himself to planning a grand party for my promotion. It surprised me to see him so involved and not showing any signs of jealousy, and I was thankful for his support. Gabriel often stepped out to plan the event in secret, wanting to keep the details a surprise. He spent a lot of time at his mother's house discussing the arrangements. Gabriel's mother, Alice, and I had a pleasant relationship. Though we weren't very close, she was a kind person. On the day of the party, Gabriel was running late due to a last-minute surprise he was arranging. He instructed me to head to the venue first, where Alice would meet me. I was astounded by the venue's transformation. The hall was beautifully decorated, and the warm welcome from everyone, clapping as I entered, was truly overwhelming. During the party, while chatting with a colleague, Alice accidentally spilled her wine on my dress. She was profusely apologetic, blaming her clumsiness and nerves for the mishap. Although I assured her it was fine and mentioned getting an extra dress from my assistant, she insisted on trying to help. Then, in a quieter spot, Alice revealed her true reason for pulling me aside. She urgently advised me to instruct the security guards to prevent Gabriel from entering the venue. Confused and concerned, I pressed for an explanation. Alice confessed that Gabriel had been harboring resentment over my growing success. His frequent visits to her place weren't just about planning the party. They were also an outlet for his frustrations. This revelation was a shock. Gabriel's apparent support and enthusiasm for the party masked deeper issues of jealousy and dissatisfaction. Alice's admission painted a complex picture of Gabriel's feelings, showing a side of him I hadn't fully understood until that moment. Upon hearing Alice's grave concerns, I was taken aback. She explained how Gabriel's disappointment wasn't just about being upset, it was jealousy. His discontent had escalated since learning about my promotion, something I hadn't fully grasped until now. Alice revealed a shocking plan of Gabriel's to publicly humiliate me at the promotion party by presenting forged documents to question my deserving of the promotion. His motive, driven by envy and a desire to surpass me, seemed inconceivable. Alice's revelation left me needing time to absorb the news. Despite the turmoil of emotions, I recognized the urgency of the situation. Grateful for Alice's loyalty, I took her advice and instructed the security to bar Gabriel's entry. As I grappled with disbelief and betrayal, my instincts prompted me to seek proof. I discreetly inquired with the technician responsible for the evening's presentations, claiming I was verifying content on Gabriel's behalf. This led to the discovery of the USB drive Gabriel had provided. Filled with counterfeit documents aimed at undermining my professional credibility, the potential consequences of these documents becoming public were dire, risking not only my reputation but my career. In a state of anger and determination, I secured the USB and ensured no incriminating content would be displayed. My investigation didn't stop there. I also spoke with staff members Gabriel had enlisted to participate in his scheme, obtaining written statements confirming their involvement. An hour after Alice's warning, Gabriel contacted me, bewildered by his denied entry. His tone, a mix of confusion and indignation, prompted me to suggest he return home, sparing both of us from what would undoubtedly be a painful confrontation. This moment marked a significant turning point, where my actions reflected not just a defense of my career, but a stand against betrayal and manipulation. We decided to continue our conversation at home. "I just wanted to be part of your special day," Gabriel said, trying to reason with me. But at that moment, I was too upset to engage. "I'm aware of your actions, Gabriel, and I don't want to talk about this over the phone," I replied, my voice firm. Gabriel seemed incredulous, questioning my understanding of the situation. "I know exactly what I'm doing. You need to go home and reflect on your jealousy and insecurities," I said, cutting him off. Despite his protests and feigned ignorance, I confronted him about the sabotaging plans I had uncovered, especially the damning evidence on the USB meant for the projector. Gabriel accused me of snooping and questioned my trust in him, to which I responded, "I did trust you, but after tonight, any trust I had has disappeared." His attempt to justify his actions by claiming I flaunted my achievements only highlighted his inability to be supportive. "I was hoping you'd be happy for me, not jealous," I countered. The conversation escalated as Gabriel demanded I return home immediately after the party, issuing a veiled threat. This only fueled my resolve to distance myself from him. "Threaten me, and I won't come back at all," I retorted, hanging up. Despite Gabriel's attempt to overshadow the evening with negativity, I chose to enjoy the party. It was supposed to mark the beginning of my downfall, but instead, I had a wonderful time, celebrating my achievements with colleagues and friends. Later that night, I sought refuge at Alice's home, knowing Gabriel had already reached out to her. She advised him to give me space, supporting my need for distance. In the days that followed, I took decisive action by filing for divorce, determined to close this painful chapter of my life. Once the paperwork was ready, I prepared to confront Gabriel one last time, this time with the finality of divorce papers in hand. This decision marked a new beginning for me, free from the shadows of jealousy and manipulation. When I returned home, Gabriel was there to greet me. "You're back finally," he said, trying to sound cheerful. I wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. "Don't pretend to be happy. I'm not here for that," I replied coldly. Gabriel attempted to apologize, claiming he truly missed me and regretted his actions. But his apology felt hollow. "You think saying sorry is enough? You tried to ruin both my career and reputation because of your jealousy and insecurity," I confronted him. Gabriel's excuse was that he was in a bad place mentally, but that hardly seemed like a justification for his actions. He claimed to be struggling because I was receiving recognition for our work, despite us being in the same department. The conversation took a darker turn when Gabriel implied that my success was due to exploiting my femininity, not my hard work or achievements. I reminded him of my contributions and the revenue I generated, all through professional means. Gabriel, unable to accept this, admitted to resorting to fabricating evidence to undermine me, insisting there was no way I could be genuinely more successful than him. His actions were indefensible. Gabriel was prepared to demean the person he claimed to love, driven by his so-called insecurities. He even cited the embarrassment he felt over being outperformed by his wife as a justification for his behavior, revealing the true extent of his resentment and the influence of his friends' opinions over our relationship. Fed up with his justifications and unwillingness to endure his destructive tendencies, I handed him the divorce papers. Gabriel's plea, framing his betrayal as a single mistake, did nothing to sway me. His lack of genuine remorse and failure to recognize the severity of his actions made it clear he hadn't grasped the depth of his wrongdoing. His priorities were misplaced, valuing his ego over our relationship, which was far from the foundation of a healthy partnership. After Gabriel's harsh words and threats, I realized I couldn't bear any more. His inability to see the wrong in his actions was baffling. He saw his attempts to sabotage my career as a minor mistake. I quickly gathered my belongings and headed to Alice's house, but not before informing Gabriel he had 2 weeks to move out of my place. I wasn't particular about where he went, as long as he wasn't there anymore. With tensions between Gabriel and me becoming evident, I decided to preempt any workplace gossip by announcing our divorce. I kept the reasons private, but Gabriel, intent on damaging my reputation, started spreading false stories. He accused me of excluding him from my promotion party out of selfishness and jealousy, twisting the narrative to undermine me. In response to his unfounded attacks and to protect my integrity, I shared the evidence of Gabriel's schemes with our bosses and HR. This included the forged documents he intended to use against me and signed statements from those he had enlisted for his plan. I also highlighted the negative impact his actions and lies were having on workplace productivity. The company acted swiftly. Gabriel was summoned to the boss's office the next working day and subsequently fired. Seeing him leave the office, defeated, was an ironic twist of fate. His call to me afterward, full of accusations and anger, confirmed his dismissal. He demanded to know why I ruined his career, to which I replied without confirming anything specific. Yet I pointed out the irony in his actions. After threatening to ruin me for leaving him, he was upset over the consequences of his actions. Gabriel's plan to undermine me not only backfired, but also highlighted the disparity between attempting harm and facing the repercussions. His dismissal wasn't just about the conflict. It was about maintaining a professional and ethical workplace, something he had blatantly disregarded. Faced with Gabriel's untenable behavior, I was forced into a position where protecting myself was the only option. His response to his termination hinted at disbelief, but the reality was his actions weren't just harmful to me personally, but professionally as well, breaching multiple ethical boundaries within our workplace. I explained to Gabriel that his firing wasn't just because of poor performance, but due to his deliberate attempts to undermine his wife, a clear violation of both professional and personal trust. Despite his protestations of innocence and disbelief, I made it clear that his actions during our marriage made me fearful of what he might do if we were to divorce, prompting me to take preemptive steps for my own safety and career preservation. Gabriel's threats of legal action and financial retribution were met with the reality of the evidence I had gathered against him. evidence that would certainly interest any legal proceedings. His threats only underscored his inability to grasp the severity of his actions, leading me to end the conversation and insist on future communications being handled through legal channels. The satisfaction I felt in seeing Gabriel react as he did was tinged with the regrettable necessity of the situation. His attempts to contest the divorce and seek alimony, based on the claim that his job loss was my fault, were doomed to fail. The substantial evidence of his attempts to sabotage my career, coupled with corroborating statements from our workplace and even his mother, painted a clear picture to any observer. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, Gabriel's insistence on dividing even the smallest of our shared assets only served to prolong the process, much to his financial detriment. Despite the unnecessary length and complexity of the divorce, I maintained my focus on a fair resolution, offering concessions where reasonable to finally close this painful chapter of my life. The court's decision to deny his alimony request, based on the evidence and circumstances, was a relief, allowing me to move forward with a sense of closure and the opportunity to rebuild. When it came down to finalizing our divorce, Gabriel insisted on dividing every single item we owned, down to the minutest detail, like spoons and forks. Despite my attempts to find a middle ground, he was relentless. I couldn't understand why he was so intent on drawing out the process, especially since it was costing him financially. I was faring quite well on my own, so I decided to compromise where I could, granting him most of the material possessions he demanded, within reason. The house remained with me, as it was in my name, but I conceded to Gabriel on nearly everything else he wanted, including our bed. With ample resources at my disposal, replacing these items wasn't a concern for me. As our divorce reached its conclusion, Gabriel found himself in a precarious position, financially and socially. He moved from one friend's couch to another, until their patience wore thin with his unwillingness to look for work. Even Alice, his mother, reached her limit after his outburst led her to cut off all contact with him. Eventually, devoid of options, Gabriel approached me, seeking assistance. But I was resolute in my decision to sever ties and not get dragged back into his turmoil. Last I knew, he was staying with an aunt and had managed to secure some form of employment. On my end, life has been fulfilling and serene. While there are moments when I mourn what was lost with Gabriel, I remind myself of the peace and happiness I've gained in his absence. Therapy has been a helpful tool in navigating through my feelings of grief, loss, and anger, leading me to a place of well-being and contentment. Alice, on her part, initially tried to compensate for her son's misdeeds, but after a heartfelt conversation, she ceased. Our relationship evolved, and she's become a dear friend and a maternal figure in my life. As for love, I'm taking my time, focusing on self-care, and enjoying life to the fullest until I'm ready to trust again.